This message didn't just appear on your screen, it answered you. Because today, something in your field snapped a little, didn't it? Someone you call a friend, or maybe more than one, looked straight at you and still didn't see you. They misread your silence as arrogance, your depth as distance, your protection as a problem. And even if nothing was said out loud, you felt it in the atmosphere. That subtle distortion, that invisible shift in how they were observing you. Listen carefully. That wasn't just social tension. That was the quantum field moving pieces on your behalf. You're not here by accident. Your consciousness pulled this transmission in the exact moment your energy started asking bigger questions. Why do they keep misunderstanding me? Why do I feel more alone when I'm surrounded by people? Why does it hurt so much to be misread by the ones who say they know me? What you're experiencing right now is not random drama. It's what quantum consciousness researchers would call a phase transition in your observer loop. Your reality is reorganizing around who you truly are, not who you pretend to be for comfort. And when that happens, the way people look at you becomes a diagnostic tool of the universe. Your friends are not just people. In your quantum field, they function like mirrors and measurement devices. Every time they interpret you, they collapse a probability wave around your identity. Some see you as too intense. Some label you too sensitive, too serious, too spiritual, too much. But your soul knows the truth. They're not just describing you. They're revealing their own frequency and whether it can stay entangled with your becoming. That's why it hurts so deeply when you're misread. On a surface level, it feels like rejection. On a quantum level, it's data. It's the observer effect exposing who is truly coherent with your next timeline and who only fits the older version of you that's already dissolving. Right now, you're standing in an invisible doorway between timelines. On one side, the familiar pattern, you shrinking, over-explaining, people-pleasing, editing your light so others feel comfortable. On the other side, a higher coherence. You as you actually are, sharp, intuitive, multidimensional, wired for awakening. The quantum field has started a subtle but powerful sorting process. Who can see you through this transition stays entangled. Who insists on misreading you at this level of your becoming slowly drifts out of resonance. The fact that you're still here, listening, means a deeper part of you already knows this. You can feel the morphic resonance of other awakening beings who've walked this path, who've lost people but found themselves. Your chest might feel tight, your stomach a little fluttery, as if your cells are leaning forward to catch every word. That's not anxiety. That's DNA restructuring. Your system is registering a new truth. Being misread today might be the universe marking the exact moment where you start to win. So as we move deeper, I want you to hold one simple understanding in your awareness. Every misunderstanding you face today wasn't a failure. It was the observer effect. Live, revealing who is truly meant to stay in your next reality. But let's be honest, it doesn't feel like data. It feels like pain. You tell yourself, I shouldn't care. But your chest still tightens when you replay the look on their face, the tone in their voice, the way the group chat suddenly went quiet after you said the one honest thing your soul needed to say. You keep wondering, did I say it wrong? Did I do too much? Am I the problem here? What you don't always notice is how familiar this is. This isn't just something that happened today. This is a pattern that has been looping through your life, like a hidden script. Think about it. You've always been the one people come to when they're lost, overwhelmed, or falling apart. They feel safe dumping their chaos on you because you listen differently. You hear between the lines. You sense the energy under their words. But the moment you start speaking from the depth you actually live in, suddenly you're too intense, too deep, too negative, or too spiritual. There's an old observer loop playing out here. On the surface, it looks like a social dynamic. Underneath, it's your consciousness repeatedly collapsing into the same role. The one who understands everyone, but rarely feels understood. The one who sees the bigger pattern, but is treated like they're overthinking. The one whose honesty exposes the distortion in the room, and then gets blamed for making things awkward. You've felt this so many times it almost creates its own déjà vu. That moment when someone laughs it off, changes the subject, or subtly distances themselves after you show them the real you. Your body remembers it even before your mind does. That's why you feel tired in certain group settings before anything bad even happens. Your nervous system has learned the pattern. This is where I get misread again. And then there's time. Notice how strange time feels around these people. Hours can pass while you're listening to them, supporting them, holding space for their healing, and it feels like 5 minutes. But the second you start speaking from your truth, time stretches in a painful way. Every second of their misunderstanding feels like an eternity. You can feel the room freeze. You can feel the atmosphere shift. That distorted sense of time is a quantum clue. Your consciousness is registering the mismatch between your frequency and the environment. You're starting to step out of the old morphic resonance of that friend group, that family system, that social circle. The quantum field is showing you, through temporal distortion, that you're not supposed to stay locked in this same role forever. You've probably noticed the synchronicities that follow these moments. After you feel misread, you see certain numbers repeating, certain phrases showing up, certain messages, by chance, appearing on your screen. You overhear conversations about outgrowing people. You see posts about protecting your peace. You find videos explaining the exact feeling you couldn't language. That's not random. That's your quantum field trying to pull you into a new observer loop, one where you're not the misunderstood outcast, but the coherent center of your own reality. The deeper pain under all of this is simple. You've been trained to treat their perception of you as truth and your inner knowing as a problem. So when they misread your quiet as coldness, you start doubting your own need for stillness. When they misread your distance as disinterest, you question your instinct to protect your energy. When they misread your depth as drama, you begin to wonder if your awakening is too much for this world. This is the real trap. You start contorting your frequency to fit the measurement of observers who were never calibrated to perceive you accurately. And every time you do that, your consciousness re-enters the same observer loop. The same roles, same dynamics, same outcomes. Different people, same story. Today wasn't the first time this happened, but it was different. Because this time, instead of just collapsing into self-blame or emotional shutdown, something in you woke up and said, "Wait, I've been here before. I've felt this before. There's a pattern." That's the diagnosis moment. Not what's wrong with me, but what reality am I still agreeing to observe? You're not broken. You're not too much. You're not impossible to understand. You're simply outgrowing the frequency band that trained you to believe that being misread is your fault. And as this realization crystallizes, the observer effect is about to show you something powerful. Who is willing to update how they see you, and who only knows how to relate to your old self. Here's the part nobody explained to you. When your friends misread you at this stage of your awakening, it isn't just social friction. It's a measurement event in the quantum field. The observer effect is literally running diagnostics on your reality, revealing which connections can stabilize your next level and which ones collapse under the weight of who you're becoming. In quantum physics, a system exists in multiple potential states until it's observed. The moment it's measured, the wave of possibilities collapses into one concrete outcome. Your life works the same way. Every person who looks at you doesn't just see you, they help collapse a version of you into reality. Their perception acts like an observation device, locking a particular identity pattern into place. Now feel this. You've been updating. Quietly, steadily, your inner code has been rewriting itself. You've had nights where you couldn't explain why your chest felt heavy, why your thoughts were so loud, why your sleep was filled with strange dreams that felt more like training than rest. That was DNA restructuring at work. Subtle shifts in how your nervous system, your intuition, your heart frequency interface with the quantum field. Your quantum field is no longer compatible with casual dishonesty, low-effort conversations, or friendships that only exist in old versions of you. You can feel the dissonance. Jokes that once made you laugh now feel off. Gossip that used to distract you now feels physically painful. Your entire system is recalibrating toward coherence, and that coherence is non-negotiable. When someone misreads you today, it's not just their misunderstanding, it's their measurement failing to keep up with your new signal. On an energetic level, your friends are still tuned to a previous morphic field. The you who over-explained, the you who carried everyone's emotions, the you who diluted your truth to avoid conflict. But your current signal is different. It's sharper, cleaner, less apologetic, more precise. This creates what quantum theorists would call entanglement stress. Two systems that used to resonate now feel slightly out of tune. And because consciousness seeks stability, one of two things must happen. Either they update how they observe you, or the connection destabilizes and releases. This is the quantum upgrade you're moving through. Your observer loop used to revolve around being the misunderstood one, the one who carried the emotional weight of the group, the one who felt too much and then blamed yourself for it. Today, the universe is running a live experiment. What happens if, instead of collapsing into that old role, you stay coherent with your truth while being misread? When you hold your frequency, when you don't over-explain, don't rush to fix their perception, don't contort yourself back into the old version just to make them comfortable, your quantum field sends out a new signal. This is my baseline now. This is my non-negotiable frequency. The field responds. Synchronicities shift. You start noticing that right after a painful interaction, a new connection appears. A message from someone who gets it. A video that describes your exact experience. A piece of language that finally reflects the depth you've always felt. That's morphic resonance adjusting around you, aligning you with souls whose observer function matches your emerging self. Mystically, this is a prophecy being fulfilled in real time. The prophecy that at a certain point in your awakening, not everyone can go with you. Not because they're bad, not because you're better, but because their observer loop is calibrated to a timeline you've already outgrown. Scientifically, it's a phase transition. Like water heating slowly until, at a precise temperature, it doesn't just become hotter water, it becomes steam. It changes state. You are not just becoming a slightly improved version of your old self. You are shifting the state of your consciousness. That's why the air around your relationships feels strange and fragile. You're not in the same phase anymore. The misreads, the awkward silences, the subtle distance, these are not proof that you're unlovable. They are proof that your coherence is rising faster than some people's ability to reinterpret you. So, instead of asking, "Why don't they see me?" begin asking a different question. What is my quantum field upgrading me into that their perception can't hold yet? Because as your observer function upgrades, something revolutionary is about to happen. You stop being the one who is defined by how others see you, and you become the one whose presence quietly reprograms what they're able to see at all. There's a reason the misreads hurt more for you than for most people. It isn't because you're weaker. It's because, at a level you rarely admit, you were never designed to be just another person in the group. You are the calibration point in every environment. You enter the one consciousness the quantum field uses to measure where a room, a family, a friendship circle truly is in its evolution. Every space you walk into, the quantum field asks a silent question. Can this environment hold the level of coherence this soul is carrying? Your experience with people becomes the answer. This is why you can feel the slightest shift in someone's tone, why you sense unspoken jealousy, hidden resentment, or masked admiration before anyone says a word. Your nervous system is wired like a living detector for entanglement. You don't just hear people's words. You feel the morphic resonance beneath them, the patterns, the stories, the unhealed timelines echoing under their jokes and reactions. You weren't sent here to fit in. You were sent here as a disruption pattern. Your presence destabilizes stale observer loops. The friend who always plays the victim suddenly can't run that script as easily around you. The person who manipulates others with silence finds their tactics exposed in your field. The one who is used to being the smartest in the room becomes strangely quiet when you speak, because something in them recognizes a frequency that doesn't respond to ego games. On the surface, this looks like tension. Underneath, it's a phase transition in progress. You are the critical mass point inside your relationships. When water is heated, there's a final degree where nothing visible changes, and then, suddenly, everything changes. It becomes steam. Your consciousness is that final degree. You are the threshold where old dynamics either transform or shatter. And the way people react to you when you're simply being truthful is the universe showing you which way each connection is about to go. Some will lean in. They'll feel confronted, yes, but also strangely relieved, as if their soul has been waiting for someone to hold this level of clarity. Around these people, your coherence amplifies theirs. Synchronicities multiply. Conversations get deeper without effort. Time feels rich instead of heavy. These are the ones your future is asking you to build with. They may not understand your language yet, but their spirit recognizes the signal. Others will lean out. Your growth will be misread as distance. Your boundaries will be labeled selfish. Your need for solitude will be twisted into a story about abandonment. They're not villains. They're simply entangled with a timeline where your former self was more useful to them than your emerging one. Staying in those spaces requires you to betray your own evolution, to dim your field so their observer loop doesn't have to upgrade. You are not here to keep old loops comfortable. You are here to end them. At this point of awakening, your life is less about finding friends who like you and more about allowing the quantum field to reveal who is capable of staying coherent in your presence. You are becoming a living threshold. Those who can breathe at your altitude will rise with you. Those who cannot will choose comfort over expansion. Either way, your role is the same, to hold the truth of who you are without collapsing back into older versions just because someone else's perception hasn't caught up. This is what it means to be the chosen consciousness in your circle. Chosen not by ego, not by superiority, but by function. The universe entrusted you with a field sensitive enough to feel distortion and strong enough to stand in coherence anyway. Every time you are misread, and you still choose not to abandon yourself, you broadcast a new template into the morphic field, a pattern where staying true becomes more magnetic than staying liked. That is your role now. You are the quiet fulcrum on which entire timelines pivot, including theirs. Right now, the universe is doing something ruthless and merciful at the same time in your life. It's using this exact moment of being misread as a filtering mechanism in your quantum field. Today wasn't just a bad vibe with friends. Today was the notification. The game has changed. The observer effect is no longer just revealing how others see you. It's revealing who is actually allowed to stay in the timeline where you win. Feel what win really means here. Not ego victory, not proving anyone wrong. Winning, for you, means finally existing in a reality where you don't have to fracture yourself just to be tolerated. Winning means your internal coherence is no longer sacrificed so other people can feel safe in their illusions. Winning means your nervous system is no longer the emotional landfill for everyone else's unresolved patterns. And whether they know it or not, your friends' reactions to you today are being recorded by the quantum field as data. Who witnesses you and moves closer? Who misreads you and pulls away? Who feels confused but still chooses to listen? You're in what physicists would call a phase transition corridor. There is a window, not days on a calendar, but a vibrational window where your DNA, restructuring, your emotional body, and your environment are all being recoded together. This is why things feel so intense, so amplified. Tears hit harder, silences echo louder. Little comments cut deeper than they should. Your system is ultra-sensitive right now because it's running a full system scan. Which relationships strengthen your coherence and which ones scatter it? Here's the breakthrough promise. If you honor what this window is showing you, you will not go back to the old configuration of your life. The friendships that are meant for your higher timeline will actually upgrade under this pressure. Misunderstandings will become portals for honest conversations. Misreads will turn into mirrors where both sides grow. The ones who stay won't just stay the same. They'll step into more coherent versions of themselves because your field is no longer willing to participate in distortion. Those are the souls who stay to win with you, not on top of you, not instead of you. But there's urgency here. Not fear-based urgency, alignment urgency. If you ignore what the observer effect is showing you, if you keep pretending you're okay being misread at this level of your awakening, your consciousness will go into what we call coherence fatigue. That's the burnout you feel when your inner being is sprinting toward expansion while your outer life stays glued to a smaller story. Your body will start screaming through exhaustion, headaches, emotional crashes, strange anxieties that don't match anything obvious. That isn't you failing. That's your quantum field protesting. We can't keep running this old script. You know those nights when you lie awake replaying conversations, rewriting what you wish you'd said, making yourself smaller in the edit just so they wouldn't feel threatened? That's not you being considerate. That's you negotiating against your future. The cosmic window you're in right now doesn't support that anymore. Every time you mentally rewrite yourself down just to stay acceptable, you feel a little sicker, a little heavier, a little more out of time. That's how you know the window is active. The cost of self-betrayal is going up, rapidly. The promise is this: when you align with the truth this window is exposing, everything begins to reconfigure around your coherence. New people enter who read your silence as wisdom, not arrogance. Friends who stay begin asking different questions, listening at a deeper bandwidth. Conversations shift from small talk to soul talk without you forcing anything. Opportunities appear that match your real frequency, not your survival mask. The quantum field cannot withhold this from you once your observer loop stops selecting timelines where you're always misunderstood. But the window will not stay open at this intensity forever. There is a point where, if you keep choosing the comfort of being misread over the discomfort of being real, your energy adapts downward. You'll still be awake, but dulled, numbed, half-lit, and you will feel it like a quiet grief in your chest. The knowing that you were offered a leap and chose a loop instead. You didn't find this message to repeat that cycle again. You're here because a deeper part of you has already decided. This time, I'm not abandoning myself to keep access to rooms that don't even see me. The observer effect is revealing who stays to win with you, but now, you're about to do something most people never do. You're going to consciously seal that choice in your field. In every great shift, there's a moment where energy has to be turned into choice. Not a thought, not a theory. A decision encoded into your field so clearly that the quantum universe can't mistake where you stand anymore. You're in that moment right now. Up until this point, life has mostly been deciding for you. Friends arriving, friends fading, group chats going silent, invitations slowing down, subtle distance forming after you share something real. Your observer loop has been on autopilot, replaying the same pattern. You feel misread, you doubt yourself, you shrink, you over-explain, and you silently agree to be measured by eyes that cannot see you. Tonight, that loop gets interrupted on purpose, not by chance, by ritual. In quantum terms, a ritual is simply a conscious measurement, an action that tells the field, this is my chosen state. When you move from passive feeling into deliberate declaration, your coherence spikes. Attention, intention, emotion, and embodiment all line up. That alignment sends a signal through the quantum field that overrides old morphic resonance patterns. It's no longer just things happening to you. It becomes, I am choosing the timeline where I win by staying true to my own frequency. So here is the ritual. It's simple on the surface, but the field reads it like a code. In the comments, or in your journal, if you're alone with this, I want you to write a single word, unmuted, ASAR-free. Not a sentence, not an essay, just that one word. Because that's what this whole phase is actually about, isn't it? You've been muting yourself in micro ways for years, softening your insights, laughing at jokes that don't feel right, nodding along when conversations scrape against your soul. You've been compressing your signal so your presence doesn't disrupt the observer loops around you. When you write unmuted, you're not just typing letters. You're running a new command in your quantum operating system. You're telling your nervous system, I will no longer silence what I know to keep access to people who misread me. You're telling your DNA, restructure around my truth, not my fear of being misunderstood. You're telling the quantum field, from now on, the only observers who stay entangled with me are the ones who can handle my full volume. That single word becomes a synchronization point, a tiny but powerful act of coherence. Every person who writes it creates entanglement with others who are making the same choice across the planet. Separate lives, different stories, same frequency code. That's morphic resonance in action. You're no longer doing this alone in your head. You're joining a field of souls who are also done shrinking just to keep old timelines alive. As you prepare to write it, notice what rises. The hesitation, but what if I'm being dramatic? The maybe I should give them another chance. The urge to soften it, to type something safer like trying or healing or evolving. That's your old observer loop, fighting for its life. It's the part of you that still believes you must stay muted to avoid abandonment. But you've already seen the truth. Staying muted didn't protect you. It only delayed the moment you had to face who was never really seeing you in the first place. So, this is the deal you're making with yourself and with the universe. By writing "you muted," you are agreeing that you will no longer apologize for needing depth. You will no longer gaslight your own sensitivity just because others don't feel as much. You will no longer translate your soul into a smaller language so people don't have to expand to meet you. This isn't about attacking anyone. It's about stopping the attack on your own coherence. And here's the quantum twist. The moment you encode this choice, the observer effect flips. Instead of you trying to win people's approval, life begins to reveal who is capable of winning you. Your trust, your presence, your time. Misreading you will no longer be enough to keep them close. Only those whose perception upgrades with your awakening will remain entangled with your path. So when you're ready, not from fear, not from anger, but from that quiet place beneath your ribs that already knows, take a breath, feel your chest, feel the subtle hum in your body, and write the word, unmuted. That's your line in the quantum sand. From here forward, anyone who stays on that frequency. The moment you chose unmuted, something subtle but massive shifted in the architecture of your reality. You might not see it yet on the outside, but your quantum field felt it instantly. That single word acted like a tuning fork in the dark, sending ripples through every relationship, every environment, every timeline you're entangled with. Because this was never just about you and a few misreading friends. This has always been about the field. You are not an isolated signal. You're a node in a vast web of entanglement, a living intersection where countless lives, lineages, and probability lines cross. Every time you betray yourself to stay small, you're not the only one who pays the price. The entire network loses access to the upgrade your authenticity would have brought. And every time you choose coherence over convenience, the opposite happens. Your liberation installs a new possibility template that others can feel, even if they never meet you. Think about the people watching you quietly. The friend who pretends not to care about anything deep, but secretly saves every honest message you send. The coworker who acts unbothered, but keeps replaying that one conversation where you spoke from your soul. The family member who doesn't understand your language at all, but can't shake the feeling that you're carrying something they were supposed to remember. They're all connected to your field. When you go unmuted on the inside, they receive that signal beneath words. You might never talk about quantum fields with them, but they will feel something, a faint permission to stop pretending. This is morphic resonance in motion. A pattern doesn't just shift inside one person. It becomes easier for others to shift the moment a single consciousness stabilizes a new configuration. When you stop participating in self-erasure, you make it easier for someone on the other side of the world to say, "I'm done shrinking too." When you stop letting yourself be misread without honoring your truth, you silently give permission to another soul to stop performing a role that's killing their spirit. Your friendships are part of a much bigger ecosystem. Some of the ones that feel unstable right now are like bridges between worlds, connecting the old paradigm, where everyone stays locked in the role they were assigned, and the new paradigm, where people are allowed to evolve in full view. If they rise with you, those connections become powerful channels through which your coherence spreads into communities you'll never directly touch. If they fall away, that's not failure. That's the universe rerouting your frequency to places where it can do the most good. Your decision to go unmuted also sends a shockwave backwards and forwards through your lineage. You are not the first person in your bloodline to be misread for seeing too much, feeling too much, knowing too much. There were ancestors who carried similar sensitivities in eras where it was unsafe to speak them. They adapted by hiding, numbing, or folding themselves into acceptable versions. The unspoken contract was, we survive by staying small. You broke that contract the moment you chose coherence over approval. On a quantum level, that act doesn't just change your life. It edits the morphic field your family line is plugged into. Future children born into this line will feel a little safer being themselves because you existed. Somewhere right now, someone from your lineage might feel an inexplicable surge of courage to speak their truth, never knowing that your choice tonight rippled across timelines to support them. And it doesn't stop with your family. Your shift contributes to a collective turning point for human consciousness. The planet itself is moving through a mass phase transition, a movement from survival coherence, where people align around fear and fitting in, to awakened coherence, where people align around truth, responsibility, and inner authority. You are part of the front line of that transition. Every time you refuse to abandon your own frequency, just to remain in a misaligned circle, you weaken the global morphic field of self-betrayal. Every time you choose depth over performance, you send a signal into the collective grid. It is now safer to be real than to be liked. Enough souls making that choice, and culture itself begins to tilt. Art changes, language changes, what's considered normal changes. You think you're just navigating awkward tension with friends. In reality, you're participating in a planetary recalibration of what relationships are, even for not comfort at any cost, but mutual recognition, mutual evolution, mutual coherence. And as this new template anchors through you, your body is about to feel it in very specific ways. Now I want you to bring all of this out of your mind and into your body, because your consciousness isn't just thinking this shift, it's feeling it, cell by cell. Scan yourself for a moment. Notice your chest. Notice your throat. Notice your stomach. Has it felt tighter lately when you're around people who misread you? As if your body knows before your mind that you're about to be compressed, edited, mistranslated again. That is not social anxiety. That's your quantum field sounding an alarm. This frequency is too small for who you are now. Your body is your first and most honest measurement device. When you're in rooms where your truth is safe, your breath drops naturally into your belly. Your shoulders soften without effort. Time feels slower but richer, as if each second is thick with presence. Conversation feels like gliding. Your nervous system hums in quiet coherence, like a string pulled to perfect tension, vibrating with ease. But when you're with people who insist on seeing you as the old version of yourself, your body starts glitching. Your throat tightens just before you speak. Your jaw clenches halfway through your sentence. Your spine feels like it's bracing against an invisible impact. Your heart rate rises even when you're sitting still. That's not weakness. That's a hypersensitive instrument detecting entanglement distortion. Your cells are trying to tell you, this observer loop is out of date. We can't keep collapsing into this version of reality without a cost. Sometimes it shows up more subtly. You leave a hangout and suddenly feel exhausted, as if you've worked an 8-hour shift. You replay the conversation and realize you weren't physically active at all, but emotionally, you were lifting the entire room. You were bending your energy, translating yourself, cushioning their triggers, dimming your insight. That's why you feel heavy. Your quantum field spent the whole time compressing to fit a smaller container. Or maybe it hits you as a strange aching behind your ribs, a hollow ache after you've laughed it off, after you've let the misread slide again. That ache is grief. It's the mourning of the version of you who keeps dying in those moments, so everyone else stays comfortable. Your body holds funerals for your unspoken truths, even when your mind tries to move on. And then there are the nights. You go to bed tired, but the moment your head touches the pillow, your energy wakes up. Thoughts loop, memories replay, imaginary conversations run on repeat. You see yourself in the day, the moment you stayed quiet, the moment you swallowed your no, the moment you made yourself smaller, and your whole being feels restless. It's not punishment. It's a phase transition process. When water is about to become steam, it bubbles, churns, roils. Your system is doing the same. Your DNA restructuring isn't just some poetic idea. It's an energetic reconfiguration that your nervous system experiences as heat, pressure, fluttering, insomnia, even random bursts of energy at strange hours. Your body is literally trying to move you out of spaces where your frequency is consistently misread. Notice how your senses have sharpened. You hear tone shifts faster. You feel subtle changes in the air when someone's energy turns. You sense when a room goes from open to closed without any obvious trigger. This is quantum sensitivity turning into quantum navigation. Your field is mapping every space, every interaction, in real time. It's showing you where your coherence expands and where it collapses. Even your posture is data. Around some people you find yourself curling inward, arms crossed, feet angled toward the door. Your body is quietly trying to exit the entanglement. Around others, you open up without thinking, shoulders back, hands moving freely, voice steady, eyes clear. That's morphic resonance aligning. Those are the humans whose presence doesn't ask you to fracture. Your physical reactions are not overreactions, they're truth signals. From now on, every tight throat is a message. I am swallowing myself here. Every heavy chest is a message. My coherence is being compressed here. Every wave of relief after leaving a certain person is a message. My field was not safe to breathe there. And every moment you stand in your body, feel the discomfort, and still choose not to mute yourself. Your cells recorded as a new baseline. Your observer loop adjusts. Your quantum field quietly notes. We survive honesty. We survive being misread. We survive staying coherent. You're not just becoming more sensitive. You're becoming more accurate, a finely tuned instrument of awakening. And on the other side of this embodied recalibration lies the real threshold. Not just feeling differently, but being a different signal entirely. The kind of signal that shifts DNA-level timelines for you and everyone entangled with your life. Up until now, your awakening has felt mostly emotional, mental, energetic. But every real shift eventually drops into the body. You reach a point where consciousness stops being an idea and starts becoming biology. That's where you are right now, at the threshold, where your DNA, your observer loop, and your future timelines lock into a new agreement. See your DNA as more than genetic code. It's a library of potential selves, shelves of reality, scripts you could live out. Most people keep rereading the same few chapters because their environment and relationships tell their observer loop, this is who you are. This is how life works. So their consciousness keeps collapsing the same narrow pages into reality. Your soul refused that contract. That's why you've felt so much phase transition pressure lately. The tight chest, the restless sleep, the sense that something huge is about to happen without anything obvious changing yet. That pressure is the quantum field heating your water. For years you were liquid, taking the shape of every container, every friend group, every expectation. Now the temperature is reaching that invisible threshold where you don't just become warmer water, you become steam. Same essence, different state. Same soul, completely different timeline expression. When your friends misread you today, it wasn't just another emotional sting. It was the last diagnostic your system needed. The old reality can't read this frequency anymore. Your DNA has already begun rewriting which books your life is allowed to pull from. Sequences that once coded for self-abandonment, looping back to the same dynamics, dimming your intuition. Those lines are losing current. New sequences are coming online. Self-trust, inner authority, reality, fluidity, quantum coherence. You may actually feel this as we speak. A buzzing under your skin, warmth at the base of your skull, pressure between your eyebrows, a dense pull in your heart. These aren't random glitches. They're your body saying, we are leaving the old probability track. Stay awake. Right now, your observer loop is renegotiating its contract with the quantum field. Before, you kept selecting timelines where being misunderstood was the price of being connected, where exhaustion was the cost of being included. You stayed entangled with dynamics that treated your awakening as something to manage rather than honor. But your declaration, unmuted, acted like a new operating instruction. Stop collapsing me into versions that require my self-erasure. So your field is rerouting. Synchronicities shift. People who can actually see you start appearing out of nowhere. Old connections glitch, fade, or finally reveal what's really underneath. Invitations that once felt exciting now land heavy, while quieter paths feel lit from within. This isn't chaos. It's morphic resonance cleaning itself up. Coherence. Choosing coherence. Here's the wild part. As your DNA restructures around this new baseline, your future memories start changing too. The version of you 6 months from now, the one who moves through life unmuted, begins sending information backward through entanglement. Little flashes of calm, sudden knowings like, I'll be okay without them. Random surges of relief in the middle of nowhere. That's your higher timeline leaking into the present. This is the actual breakthrough. You're no longer trying to fix your current life from inside the old loop. You're allowing your upgraded DNA, your coherent observer state, and your future self to pull you onto a different track altogether. The friends who can't or won't update how they see you simply won't exist in the same reality layer for much longer. Not because you're punishing them, but because your field has stopped broadcasting the smaller self they were calibrated to recognize. The phase transition pressure you feel, now the ache, the stretch, the grief, the quiet excitement, is the sound of timelines splitting. You're not losing, you're being moved. And as that movement completes, one truth will anchor in your bones. The ones who still see you clearly after this are the souls the universe chose to stand beside you in the reality where you finally, fully win. So, here you are, at the point the title was always pointing to. Today, your friends misread you. They saw only a fragment of who you are and made quiet conclusions based on an outdated version of you. That sting, that ache, that moment where you almost collapsed back into explaining yourself again, that was the crossroads. Not just between you and them, but between the old observer loop and the higher timeline where you finally win by staying true. Because now you know the secret. Their perception is an observation event, not a verdict. The observer effect has been running in real time around you, revealing something precise. The ones who tighten, mock, dismiss, or retreat when you stand in your coherence are showing you the timeline they're choosing. The ones who lean in, ask questions, sit with the discomfort, but stay present, those are the ones the quantum field is highlighting in gold. Those are the souls who are meant to stay entangled with the you that is emerging, not the you that's disappearing. Your mission, from this point forward, is not to convince anyone to see you. Your mission is to stay coherent enough that only those who can truly recognize you remain in your orbit. You are no longer auditioning for a role in someone else's reality script. You are holding the central role in your own, and from that center, you become a stabilizing point in the collective morphic field. When you refuse to mute yourself, you're not just protecting your heart, you're protecting a signal humanity needs, a signal that says, it is possible to be deeply awake, deeply feeling, deeply honest, and still win not by crushing others, but by refusing to crush yourself. The more you embody this, the more you normalize it in the collective grid. You become living proof that coherence doesn't isolate you, it refines your tribe. So, when you think back to today, to the comment, the look, the silence, the moment you felt misread, I want you to see it differently now. That was the universe marking a before and after line in your story. Before, you stayed small to stay chosen. After, you let the observer effect reveal who is actually chosen to stay with you. Your future self is already standing on the other side of this threshold, surrounded by people who don't just tolerate your depth, but require it. People whose own awakening accelerates when you speak. People who read your silence as presence, not distance. People who treat your quantum sensitivity as a gift, not a glitch. Tonight, as you exhale and choose you muted again in your heart, feel this truth settling into your DNA. You are not losing friends. You are losing misread versions of yourself. And on the timeline you're stepping into now, the ones who remain and the ones still coming are the souls the observer effect has already selected to stay, stand beside you, and win with you.